is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Most people think Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ supposedly had died, and in 3 days he resurrected. He came back. He was in spirit. People saw him, and then he ascended to heaven. That is not what Easter is about. Easter is not about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Easter has nothing to do with the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It actually is a stolen story. Easter is actually a goddess called Easter. In Babylonian, she's called Ishtar, Ishtar. Easter is Ishtar in the Babylonian text. She's a Babylonian goddess, and she represents sex and fertility and resurrection. If you go to Sumerian text, there's a goddess called Inanna. She represents sex, fertility, and resurrection. Same goddess, different time zone, different name. Same as that goddess. If you go to the Egyptian text, there's a goddess called Isis. She represents love, fertility, sex. She also has a story of resurrection. If you go to the, who else has a goddess? If you go to the Greek text, they have a goddess called Aphrodite, I think. This is where you get aphrodisiac and all that stuff. And she was the goddess of, guess what? Fertility, sex, and prostitution. Sex played a major role in life. We all are here because of sex, and they used to worship sex. Sex wasn't a bad thing. Sex had its time. Its rightful time and a place in the universe to be worshipped. If it wasn't for sex, none of us would be here. Sex wasn't a bad thing. The so-called new religions that came on the planet started to make sex like a bad thing. They started to make it something nasty and something perverted. But if you looked all throughout history, you would see that sex was sacred. Sex was worshipped. Sex was how we all got here. You get what I'm saying? Women used to walk around with their breast out and nobody would get raped. No harm would be done because they knew what the breast was for. They knew what sex was for. So Easter is actually the goddess of fertility and sex. This is where you get your eggs and your bunnies. You think a bunny and eggs got anything to do with Jesus Christ? No, the bunny and the eggs deals with fertility and sex. The rabbit, the bunny, has sex all the time. Rabbits could be pregnant and still have sex and get pregnant again while they're about to give birth to the babies that's already in them. That's how fertile these creatures are. So rabbits represent fertility. They having sex. This is where you get your Playboy bunny from. People having sex. You know, Hugh Hefner had the Playboy bunny. The Easter had nothing to do with resurrection, but the goddess Ishtar actually has a story of resurrection. She went down to hell or the underworld to rescue some people. I haven't read the story in a long time, but from what I remember, she went down to the underworld to rescue some people. She went down to hell to rescue some people, and her sister was there. Her sister was jealous of her. Her sister tricked her and killed her, and then she got resurrected from hell by her husband. Inanna, the Sumerian goddess, also has a story of being resurrected. She went down to hell. And she went to her sister's funeral. Her story, and Nana's story is a little bit different from Ishtar, but they're the same goddess. Ishtar went down to hell to rescue some people. And Nana went down to hell for a funeral. It was her sister's husband's funeral. And when she went down there, she got stuck down there. And her father, which was God, Enki, resurrected her. Isis also has a story going to the underworld and being resurrected. Well, not being resurrected, but being a person to resurrect Osiris. She was the person. She was able to piece them back together and resurrect them. The similarity between all these different goddesses is they all dealt with fertility, love, sex, and resurrection. Then you have thousands of years later, they adopted this story and said that Jesus Christ died on this so-called day and was resurrected on Easter. So nobody no longer celebrates the actual goddess Easter or worship the actual goddess Easter, but they still participate in the Easter festivities. Egg hunts, the rabbits, the eggs, all that stuff deals with Easter. It deals with love. It deals with sex. It deals with fertility. It has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. Matter of fact, there's a TV show called American Gods. If you go watch American Gods, they even show you in the episode. Matter of fact, I'm going to put the video, I'm going to put the clip to the episode in this video. They show you in the episode where Jesus Christ was, actually was like put on top of Easter. They put his resurrection on her day, and nobody no longer worships her, and she started to lose power. You get what I'm saying? But Easter was so loving that she didn't care. She was willing to share her holiday with Jesus Christ. She didn't care. As long as people were still celebrating and doing an Easter act, she didn't care. But they put the truth in the movies and the TV shows. So they even put it in the TV show. If you go on Google right now and type in Easter goddess, you would get a whole bunch of different spiritual texts from different religions, from different times on the planet about this goddess that's called Easter, Ishtar, Isis, Inanna, Aphrodite, if I think I'm saying that correctly. Aphro something in the Greeks. It's a Greek goddess of prostitution and love and sex, and her name is Aphro something, but that's where you get aphrodisiac from. She was the goddess of prostitutes. Sex was so important that they worshipped it. Without sex, none of us would be here. Nature is dealing with sex. You get what I'm saying? Everything deals with sex. As much as we want to pervert it, sex is super important. Humans pervert sex. Animals don't pervert sex. You can see animals having sex in the wild and think, oh, they're having sex. Humans take sex and pervert it and try to make it this nasty thing. It's not. It's beautiful. It creates life. That sexual energy can birth not only babies, it can birth ideas, it can birth nations. It's that same type of energy that is used to create and manifest things. So that's what Easter is really about. Fertility, life, love, sex. It has nothing to do with the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I'm sorry to burst your bubbles. You know what I'm saying? Still celebrate Easter. But know the true origin of Easter and what it really means. You know what I'm saying? So the Christians adopted Easter and turned it over into a Jesus Christ type of holiday, Good Friday / Passover, ascension to heaven type of deal. But the original meaning and origin of Easter is fertility and sex. You know what I'm saying? But, it is what it is. Happy Easter to everybody out there. Happy love making. Happy sex. Happy rabbit. Whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's what Easter actually means.